This is the MHS Pawdcast, the online radio voice of Metuchen High School.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Metuchen High School Podcast, the online radio voice of MHS. I'm Eddie Kalegi. After the school announcements, I'll be joined by student leaders of Breaking the Chain Through Education to highlight the club and their upcoming Liss Memorial 5K. Then Josh Hyman and I dive into Metuchen sports, including the field hockey team's GMC title, Bulldog football's upsurge, and some surprises with both boys and girls soccer. But first, here are the announcements from Sarah Terracina.
Thank you, Eddie. ACT testing will take place October 26th at Metuchen High School beginning at 8 a.m. The following Saturday, November 2nd, is SAT 1 and 2 testing, also beginning at 8 a.m. Tune in to our final football broadcast of the year as Metuchen hosts Manville this Saturday, October 26th. Kickoff is at 1 p.m. Watch live by searching MHS Pawdcast on Twitter. Monday, November 4th is a 12:30 early dismissal. Parent-teacher conferences will take place from 1 to 3:30 and 6 to 8:30 that day. Wednesday, November 6th is also an early dismissal, while there's no school on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Finally, Monday, November 11th is the last day of the first marking period. That's all for announcements. Back to you, Eddie.
Thank you, Sarah. Let's move on to our first interview. For years, Breaking the Chain Through Education, an organization launched by MHS history teacher Evan Robbins, has run numerous fundraisers and even traveled to Africa to help combat child slavery in Ghana and better their conditions. To discuss the club, their upcoming event, and more, it's a pleasure to be joined by two of the club's presidents, seniors Rebecca and Juliana Margolin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
So why did each of you choose to become involved with Breaking the Chain, and what do you enjoy about it most? I'll start with you, Juliana.
Well, I actually joined Breaking the Chain because my older sister, who's 2 years older than me, was super involved in the club as a sophomore, and she was like, join as a freshman, you'll love it. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll join. And then after being in the club for like 3 months, I really was able to see the amazing things that we were doing, and we were just raising so much money that year, and it was really awesome. And then that summer my family traveled to Ghana and we got to see it firsthand, and after that, like, it's been a huge part of our lives, and it takes up all of our school days and our after school, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, you mentioned going to Ghana. Tell us a little about that experience. I mean, very few kids can say that they went to Africa with the club to really help firsthand with this cause.
It was such an eye-opening experience. We were actually the first students from our school to make the trip with Mr. Robbins, and it was super amazing. We got to meet a lot of the kids that we had heard about and seen pictures of. We got to meet them. We got to meet their families. We got to see where they go to school. And there was one experience that we had particularly with a girl named Lizzie, and she's a couple years older than us, and we had met her. We instantly made a connection with her. We fell in love with her. She was super successful at the time. She was just about to be looking at going to a university. She was one of the first students that Breaking the Chain was going to put through university, and we actually had videos of us dancing with her and the kids in her village, and it was just such an amazing experience that it makes what we do in America, it validates what we do. It makes it worth it.
On the other hand, there was also the really heartbreaking stuff. Like, we saw the people that were starving on the street, and we saw the little kids that you could just tell that they were in so much pain, and their parents were in so much pain. And it was really heartbreaking to go to these parents who had put their children into slavery because they thought it was going to be best for them, and they thought that they would be able to go to school and get all these opportunities while they were actually just being put into slavery. So it was really sad at the same time.
And some of them that don't have shoes, that we literally gave the shoes off our feet. We gave them the sneakers we were wearing to donate, and some of them that have holes in their uniforms that Breaking the Chain was trying to help. It was very sad.
And I can imagine seeing the hardships with your own eyes. It only motivates you to do more here in America.
Right, we came back and we instantly knew that things like social work and helping people like Breaking the Chain does, we instantly knew we wanted to do it for the rest of our lives. And we knew we always wanted to be a part of Breaking the Chain.
And we took what we saw to the club, and we were like, guys, there are so many more people that need our help than we first thought. We need to do better. And we came to the club with the motivation, as you said, to just raise even more money and do even more good here, because we saw exactly how that related to the people in Ghana.
So let's talk about the club itself. What happens at an ordinary meeting? When do you guys meet, and why should people join the club?
Well, we meet on Tuesdays after school, right after school until roughly 3:30, depending on what we do that day in the club. People should definitely join the club. There's something in it for everybody. Right now we've been planning our Sam Liss run, which has gotten involved a lot of the athletes that we have that are part of Breaking the Chain. We plan all of the events for the year. We have different committees. So we have a Campbell School committee that goes to Campbell and helps out with the club there, and they teach them about what Breaking the Chain does, and they help plan movie nights and things like that are events that are run at Campbell. We also have a pancake breakfast that's coming up, which a lot of people that do more of the over the phone stuff will do, or a lot of the seniors will go and drive out to businesses to solicit and get gifts and donations for Breaking the Chain. We also have a dance benefit, which we are actually in charge of running this year for the first time by ourselves, where we invite tons of different dance studios from the area, and they all come and they perform for the charity, and it's non-competitive, and we bring in so many people, and we work on these events all year. So while they may be in February or the Color Run, which is in next June, those events start now, and all the planning just goes throughout the year. As more people join the club, it progresses even more, and as we get closer, it's crunch time.
Yeah, and let's talk about the event coming this Sunday, the Sam Liss Memorial 5K. I imagine, from what I've heard, this is a newer event for the Breaking the Chain Club, just came a couple years ago. So really, what was the origins of the event, and how have you been able to get the community involved in it?
So, you're correct, this is our second Sam Liss run, and it is in memorial of Sam Liss. The Lisses are a family in Metuchen, and Sam Liss was in the first class that Mr. Robbins ever did Breaking the Chain with. He was in the group of high schoolers that said, let's do this, it's going to be a great idea, and he started the club with Mr. Robbins. When we were in Ghana with Mr. Robbins, he found out that Sam Liss had passed away because of cancer, and he was heartbroken. He was distraught. It really made him want to remember him in a way that would live on and help create this legacy that would help the club, because that's what Sam wanted to do. He just wanted to help Breaking the Chain and help it grow. So last year we did our first 5K for Breaking the Chain, and it was a huge success. It raised roughly
over $25,000.
Yeah, roughly $30,000, and it was our first time, which was crazy. It was the biggest event for Breaking the Chain last year, and we were like, we gotta do it again. We gotta raise more money. We have to honor Sam. So this is our second time. This year it's closer to Halloween, so we made it a costume contest, and we're really excited. And it's on Sunday, and everyone should do it.
Yeah, and all the money that you guys have raised, if you go into Mr. Robbins' room and you see all the checks from MSG Varsity and other things, it really shows all the hard work that you guys have been doing. So that's about all the time we have. Juliana and Rebecca Margolin, thank you for joining us on the Metuchen High School Podcast.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, Josh Hyman will join us to talk about school sports. This is the Metuchen High School Podcast, the online radio voice of MHS.
Having trouble seeing the board in class? Do you need safety glasses for your school sport? If you answered yes to either of these questions, head over to Optique Unique, the eyeglass store at 406 Main Street in Metuchen. Optique Unique does it all. Not only do they offer eyewear for all ages, they also sell sports-specific safety glasses for kids and adults. Call them at 732-321-2020. That's 732-321-2020, or visit OptiqueUnique.com. Do you want to build character, build confidence, or even build yourself? All that and more can be accomplished at the Black Belt Institute at 23 New Street, right here in Metuchen. Students of all ages have been able to learn respect, discipline, fitness, and self-defense from their experienced instructors for over 20 years. Whether you're an adult looking for stress reduction or know someone young who has interest in Taekwondo, the Black Belt Institute is the place to go. The Institute takes a fun approach at teaching the rules of self-defense, instilling in their students an I-can-do-it attitude. Interested in taking a class? Call them at 732-205-9797 or visit their website at blackbeltinst.com. Once again, that's 732-205-9797 or blackbeltinst.com. The Black Belt Institute, Metuchen's leader in martial arts and fitness. The MHS Pawdcast is also sponsored by Allstate Insurance at 63 Pearl Street in Metuchen. Allstate, are you in good hands?
The fall sports season is nearing its end and has been extremely successful for all MHS sports. Starting with the Metuchen Football team, they currently sit 3-2. What has led them to their amazing growth this season, and how many wins could they end up with?
Well, we were talking about all the way back in the spring, we were concerned what's going to happen next with this team. They were down to 16 healthy players at one point last season. You got to have 11 on the field at one time. They were 0-8 last season, but already 3 wins this year. They had a big road win a couple of weeks ago over to Nellen on October the 4th, 18-12. They're 2-1 at home. But this team, you've got the sophomore Stephen Mialishin at quarterback, who has been really stellar, won Player of the Week after a great performance against Highland Park. You've got a lot of seniors in the offense: Elijah Irvin, Frederick Krebs, Colin Qualls, Andrew Sullivan. The last couple of weeks with Jake Lipinski and Aiden Ahmed being out has been really strong running the ball. He has, I think, 3 touchdowns in the last couple games. Jacob Baser, Luke Cadilla have been good on defense, so it should be fun to see. They play St. Thomas Aquinas. The last 2 games against Manville and South River could be a bit of a challenge, but if they can win one of those 3 games, 4-5 is an incredible improvement from what they had the last couple of years.
The funny thing is, I think with all those players you just named there, I think you just named more than half their last year's roster.
Yes, that is true.
No, but it's really great to see how much they've turned around. You know, from 19 kids, what was it, on the football team last year? And I think we all remember that very embarrassing article in the New York Times highlighting how bad it is.
So it's really a testament to the new coach, Guy Jensen, who's brought in all these new players. Got the 39 now on the roster. I mean, he's done such a great job with this program. A basketball coach who had played football in the past back at Island in the 80s, now becoming a football coach, and I mean, he's doing really well with it.
Yeah, it's really amazing, and I think it's a really testament to him, the school, all the players, that they're not ready to give up on this football program. And I think it was an amazing choice to really breathe some life back into this program, because, you know, the students don't want it to die out, the coaches don't, the athletic directors don't, nobody does. And I think it was a great idea to just keep investing in this football team and give them another chance. And we've seen how far they've come. They've won more games than they have last year so far. I think this is more of a reset year, but I think in the next few years this team could really have a decent record, and I think we could really turn this around at Metuchen High School.
Definitely.
It was another strong regular season for the field hockey team, including their GMC title. What will be the key to a long run in the state playoffs?
Well, how about 3rd consecutive GMC title, double overtime victory on the road at Monroe, a game-winning goal by Conference Player of the Year Noel Leaf. It really doesn't get any better than that.
It really doesn't.
Coach McLaughlin has done an incredible job with this team ever since taking over. 3-peating as GMC title holders, really great for this program and for Metuchen High School. They had 3 all-GMC players, Jody Zhang and Isabel Wiener, also in that category. But as we've talked about, the one thing that always seems to trip this team up is playing against teams outside the GMC, and that's what comes in the state playoffs. I remember last year they were heavily favored. They were playing this team, Glen Ridge, I believe it was, and it was like the second round. It was a home game, Sunday afternoon. You'd think they'd be amped up. Glen Ridge was only 7-8, narrowly in the playoffs, and then what happened? It was a really close game, and we only won by 1 goal, and it really went down to the wire the last couple minutes. So with this field hockey team, they got to bear down. They have to focus. They can't play down to their opponents. And I think that experience now, the last 2 years, they've suffered some tough losses, so an even bigger chip on their shoulder now than last year. I think the field hockey team could be very successful in the state playoffs.
Yeah, that's what you mentioned there is pretty much it. I mean, they've had every single year, they win the conference, but then they just have trouble in the next tournament. And I think it is a problem if they get complacent, they get too overconfident, and they don't take it seriously enough. The thing is, even if you're the best, even if you're undefeated and your opponent's barely gotten into the playoff, like you said, you have to treat it like they're going to beat you, like 10-0. You have to treat it like they are the best team in the world, and you have to play for your life.
Yeah.
That's how you should go into every county game. Take nothing for granted, because these teams, even the ones that are just subpar or mediocre, they come to play during the playoffs because they know that any game could be their last. And that's how this Metuchen team has to look at it. Every game could be your last game, especially for these seniors. So you have to play as hard as you can throughout that tournament and just not get complacent, not get lazy, not get too cocky. And the girls soccer team lost Wednesday to Old Bridge, ending their GMC tournament run. How did this young team do as well as they did? And what can we expect in their future?
Yeah, this is a team we didn't expect much coming in with Maya Stolarski, who had been the cornerstone for the last couple years graduating. She's playing at Jacksonville University now. Very young team, only 2 seniors on the varsity roster, Sophie Lipschitz and Emma Walters. So, so much youth on this team, and they surprised. We didn't really expect this good of a season for them. I know they were defeated in the second round of the GMCs, but they were well over 500. They won a lot of road games. Marin Boucher is now going to be the new star of the team. Multiple hat tricks this season. She's only a sophomore. And then, how about Nika Rockefeller in goalie? A freshman on the varsity team as a goalie. You never know what to expect.
It's never easy.
It's never easy, but she's done such a good job. A couple shutouts, and doing that as a freshman, I can only imagine these coming years.
Doing that on the varsity level, no matter what you're graded, is very difficult.
Yes.
And is definitely an achievement every time you do it.
And this team is just filled with freshman and sophomore talent, so I think we're really going to be talking about them these next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, no doubt. Even though they may lack the experience of some other teams, they definitely have the talent and the skill to back it up. And unfortunately for the boys soccer team, they were eliminated in their county tournament the other day, losing 4-2. And that comes after a very long and rough season where they struggled a bit in their county, and they actually had to play 2 play-in games to get into the round of 16, which doesn't say much, but they did go down with quite a fair fight. It is unfortunate to see the boys varsity team end their season the way they did and when they did, but something we don't usually talk about, JV sports. Now, the JV boys team had an amazing regular season, a 10-3 record, one of the best in the school, and I honestly believe they are in a good position to win the GMC tournament, because they got a bye in the first round with the fourth seed got them the bye from the first round. So they play East Brunswick on Monday, and if they win that, they play the winner of the Carteret North Brunswick game. 2 teams that they have beaten in the past very confidently. Like, they beat Carteret twice and they beat North Brunswick once. So if they win that, they may play South River in the semifinals. Now that's if there are no upsets, and if South River actually gets to the semifinal, which is going to be a very, very tough game for this JV
South
team.
River, in any sport, you always...
Yes. Every year, the JV team has struggled with it. Like, the JV boys, they lost their first game against South River. They beat them the second game. And then last year, if you remember, in the JV GMC tournament, they played South River first round. They almost lost 3-0. But they came back and won. So if they both get to the semifinal round, that's going to be the game that will decide if they win this tournament or not.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that the JV team's doing well, because the varsity team 7-8-1 wasn't a great season. They had a brutal schedule. There was one point they had a 6-game road trip, I believe.
Road games are never easy, and it was like 7 games both for JV and varsity, and it just wears you down after a while after those home. But it was good to end their season at home. I think that's probably the best situation you can be in. Just a few games left, you play it all at home. You don't have to go on a long bus ride and get rushed and get off the bus. So Yeah, it's never easy.
And a lot of seniors departing. Arun Subramanian, Jackson Schneer, Luke Rivera, Jacques Mospaziano, Thomas Cortez, a long list of people. Now, since you're an insider with the JV team, who are some up-and-coming players that we might see in 2020 on this roster?
Well, the varsity team, definitely Captain Logan Grice and co-captain Brian Popek are definitely people you could expect to step up and be big stars in this varsity roster. Luke Fong, a sophomore striker, currently plays on JV. He has created a lot of opportunities for this JV team and has been responsible for most of their goals. Let's see. Me, hopefully. I'm going to be playing goalie varsity next year. Jackson Fenner at midfield could also be a very, very powerful player. The juniors that are already on varsity, as you know, Justin Wetnick, Jake Mismano, those guys are definitely going to be a factor. Sada Jaws, Terrence Lim. The junior class is very strong, and I think they make up the most of the JV roster. And seeing them all, and most of them have played together for 2 or 3 years at this point. So I think when they're all seniors, they're all playing together, they're going to be a very dangerous competition.
So it should be interesting because this year wasn't too good. Last year was pretty solid, if I recall, for the varsity team. They played some tough games. They beat South Plainfield in the game, I remember, late in the season. But should be fun to see, obviously, what happens next year. And even with you playing in goalie, we'll get to talk about you next time.
Yeah, definitely. So what else is happening in MHS sports?
Well, of course, we got to talk about cross country.
We can't leave out cross country. It's Metuchen.
It is Metuchen, and what a surprise! The boys and girls both won the GMC White Division titles.
That's almost expected at this point.
Yeah, they have GMCs and sectionals coming up. The girls' tennis team is currently 9-3. They've won 4 of their last 5 contests, with 2 remaining. They most recently swept Iselin in a game 5-0. They've had sub-500 records, both the boys and girls' tennis teams, the last couple of years. So it's really nice to see this girls' team really improving. And they've got a lot of seniors on the team, though, so some new players are going to have to step up next year. But at least for the here and now, it's a really good step for Coach Thomas's squad.
Definitely, and tennis really isn't a sport you hear a lot about in Metuchen High School, and it's really surprising to hear how well they're doing, which is really cool to have another team that's doing well. And you say that a lot of seniors are departing. Well, if we look at other sports and how well they bounce back from a loss of seniors, I don't think that should be much of an issue. Like, if they follow the general trend of Metuchen sports, their juniors, their sophomores will all step up and they will be fine. Yes, losing seniors is very big and it's hard to come back from that, but I definitely have confidence in them that they can do that.
Well, that's about all the time we have today on this edition of the Metuchen High School Podcast. I'm Kalegi.
And I'm Josh Hyman.
And we'll see you next time. This is the MHS Pawdcast, the online radio voice of Metuchen High School.